officers did not reply. Instead, one of the female officers tried to push open the gate that led onto her veranda. And like any good homeowner, any responsible homeowner, Miss Charles tried to close her door. There were words exchanged between the female officer and Miss Charles, who said, "You cannot come into my house if you do not have a warrant to come in." Miss Charles? Miss Charles? Would you join me, please? Come. The officer, the female officer, insisted on coming in. And Miss Charles said, "No, you cannot come into my house." Shortly afterwards, she was joined by her son, her eldest son, who said, you cannot come in to this house. There were words exchanged, again, just words. "You cannot come into my house." Shortly afterwards, Jamal, Miss Charles' youngest son, came outside, opened the door from the mother's house, and because he heard the commotion and he wanted to know what is going on. Well, barely had he said those words. I will stop for a minute because there's a motor vehicle passing. Barely had young Jamal said those words when a gunshot was fired in his direction. Actually, the mother screamed in fear because she thought she was going to be wounded. She thought she was going to be injured. And you can imagine she's here with me and reliving this. I think she really just does not want to relive this again. But Jamal was shot by a policeman who was at least 6 feet away from him, not even close. He was no threat to the officer. But he found himself, Mr. Charles, stand over there where it's dry, okay? Don't cry there, don't cry. And so, simple as it sounds, and that's the truth of what happened, that's the manner in which young Jamal found himself on a hospital bed at the General Hospital with a bullet in his upper thigh, fired from the gun of Officer Garcia. Now, I must say that ASP Superintendent Cohen, the head of the Community Relations Office, as well as the Commissioner, they have assured the family, and they've assured me that an investigation has swiftly begun. But I want to point out something that I think we should critique going forward. That is, where there are police shootings in the future, I would like to suggest that the policeman, without any finding of guilt or culpability or liability on the part of that officer, he should be suspended with pay, mind you, because there's no finding by anybody, any group, any organization that that officer has committed any wrong, because he has not. At least so far, an investigation has not done that. But in our business in the law, it is important that justice is not simply to be done, but it must be seen to be done. So I think an officer in the future, and this is a recommendation, I would humbly suggest that the Commissioner's office consider, suspend the officer, take his firearm, and send him on leave. Or here, I think it correctly, if I may say so, the officer is then put on administrative duty. The other thing I have a problem with, and I think the public may, and you in the media may want to comment on this, is the process. Just let me stop for a moment. Yes, it's the process that allows the police to investigate themselves. The police should not be investigating this. We have a director of public prosecutions who should be able to put together independent investigators to look into police shootings whenever they occur. I think that's the best process we should follow. Now, that's all I have. Anybody has any questions for the mother? She is here, and I would like her, I'm going to walk over to her because the rain has stopped. Ms. Charles? Yes, I agree. As I said, Miss, absolutely. I will.
And they still want the after done, so when you're done, maybe
I will. Absolutely. I will. The circumstances of this, now you could imagine, Ms. Charles was standing in front of her son, more than 6 feet away. The officer, we are told, who shot Jamal was at least 6 feet away. There was no interaction, there was no threat, there was no attempt by Jamal to lunge or to cause the officer any harm. As soon as Jamal came out of his mother's house to ask, what is this commotion here in the morning, a little after 6:15, soon as he emerged from the house, the officer, who was not even in the veranda, while standing not on the landing, but on a stair, a treader, leading up to the landing, outside of the veranda, drew and fired his weapon at the young man. In fact, the mother's fear was that she, as I indicated earlier, was that she had been shot. Except she turned around and her son, she said, she just told the officer, she said, I heard my son say, oh God, mommy, oh God, daddy, and then he collapsed in a pool of blood. You can understand her emotion at this point. If there are any questions for me, I'll be able to take it now.
We have a question from Carib Update. You want to know what is the atmosphere like in Gouyave today?
Well,
your video is gone.
Oh wait, let me try and get it back. Okay, hold on. All right, I am a techno peasant, guys, so forgive me for 1 second. Okay, am I back? Yes, I think I am back.
The video is back, and then Linda Straker has some questions after you answer that, so I will unmute Linda so she can ask you her questions. But so, Carol, update, what is the atmosphere like in Gouyave today?
Gouyave is calm. The people of Gouyave showed their outrage when they learned the true facts of what happened, because remember, there were eyewitnesses there. After the young man was shot, the police removed themselves from the stairs. Gathered because they heard this unusual sound. They heard this gunshot from a 9mm weapon. They rushed up to the family's house because they heard Mrs. Charles screaming. The outrage that followed, which we all saw on social media, was a reaction to that. But the people of St. John's are not irrational. They have now gone back to their normal lives, but make no mistake, they are waiting for justice to happen. They are awaiting the outcome of the investigation to ensure that justice follows where truth leads it. So to answer Carib Update, it is quite calm in Gouyave this morning, but the tension is in the air.
Linda, you want to go ahead, Linda?
Yeah. Good afternoon, Mr. Edwin.
Good afternoon, Mr.
Can you, are you in a position to give me the number of the officer and his full and complete name? As well, were you been able to determine whether or not there were search warrant for the property?
To the last question, there was no search warrant. To the first question, we know that it is Corporal Garcia. I do not have his number, but you can always get that from the Community Relations Office or from the Gouyave Police Station.
So, as it stands right now, not even the mother is aware why they were looking for her son?
No, we do not know. In fact, right now, at the Gouyave Police Station, we are told, I am just informed just a moment ago that the son that the police came to see is being questioned right now by an officer of the Royal Grenada Police Force. So I'll find out at the end of this conference.
Thank you.
Miss John, you can unmute your mic and go ahead with your question.
I cannot hear the question. I'm sorry, I cannot hear the question. If you can relate to me what Ms. John is asking, please.
She did not say. Miss John, what is your question, please? Can you put it in the chat? Because we're not hearing you.
Or can we take any other question? Is there any?
Any other person? Any other questions?
Are there any other questions?
No, there does not seem to be any other question.
Okay. All right. Well, we will end it here. And if anyone wants to reach me, they can do so. I'll give you my mobile. If you have any follow-up, it is 407-0997. Or you can reach our office at 435-3336. Thank you very much for your patience with us. Thank you very much. Oh, I'm sorry, there's someone named, did I miss a question? Did I miss Ms. John's question?
Ms. John, what is it you wanted to ask? Type it up for us because I'm not hearing you. You wanted to ask what, sorry? Go ahead and write your question. Ms. John
Yes,
wants to know if the young man is still hospitalized.
Yes, the young man, yes, Ms. John, he's still at the General Hospital, and prayers are answered. The young man is recovering. We do not have any other information, but yes, he is recovering. He is recovering at the hospital. His mother and father are leaving here to go to see him at the hospital, but yes, he's recovering. And no, the officer, to your question as to whether the officer has been suspended, that's something I think that it's a protocol I think that should be put in place whenever there are police shootings in the future. It's not a finding of guilt, but I think the police have an obligation to the public who they serve to say that during the pendency of this investigation, that this officer, we're not saying that he's liable, culpable, guilty. We're simply saying that he's going to be suspended pending the outcome of our investigation. But that is not the protocol which is currently followed by the Royal Grenada Police Force, although I'm informed that this is something they are looking at. Because this is not a moment where the police this is not a proud moment for the police. Let me just add this. This is the sentiment of the police that they express sincere grief that this has occurred. And as a show of how transparent and accountable they intend to be, we are also informed that none of the officers from the Gouyave police station are in fact involved in this investigation. It is the Community Relations Office at St. George's, under the leadership of Superintendent Cohen, that is leading this investigation. They want to be assured and want to give the public full assurance that this process is being undertaken out of their offices. Notwithstanding that, I still take the position that the police should not be investigating the police whenever there is a shooting of a civilian. I think the Director of Public Prosecutions should put a team together led by his office whenever there's a police shooting. That's just my observation.
Ms. John question continues. Was he the original person that the police wanted to see?
The young man who was in fact shot was not the person that the police came to interrogate or to, we don't know why the police were there. They said they wanted to talk to Mrs. Charles' eldest son. But no, he was not the one who was shot. He was in fact right there, an eyewitness, and saw his brother being shot for reasons that are extremely unclear. At this point, I would say unwarranted. Jamal Charles, young Jamal Charles, never posed a threat to the police officer who shot him. Never made a move, an aggressive move toward the police. We are extremely surprised, and the family is aggrieved that such an incident could occur in front of a mother seeing a son shot, a bullet fired in her direction. It's sometimes words fail, and this may be one of those occasions.
I believe that's it. So this interview has been recorded, and I will email it back out to you, Mr. Edwin, and to the persons who attended.
Yes, feel free to do that. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Jessamine, and thank you, everyone. Thank you for your patience.